Hello there, and welcome to the Tunes From Doolin Podcast, an Irish traditional music interview series presented by myself, Charles Monod, and featuring guests from County Clare and beyond who come and visit us here in Doolin. On each episode of the show, we are guided by tunes picked and played by our guests, and we talk about various topics related to traditional music, such as sources of inspiration, repertoire, style, memories, and much, much more. If you'd like to support this podcast and the Tunes From Doolin project in general, you can head over to our Patreon page, patreon.com/tunesfromdoolin, where you can sign up and choose a support level that you can sustain. It doesn't have to be much, even a cup of coffee per month really goes a long way. The link is in the show notes. Thank you so much for your support. Our guest for this episode is Claus Steinort, a wonderful flute player and piper from Germany who has been a regular visitor to Doolin since the late 80s. He is currently spending a few months in Doolin with his family, and they're a great addition to the local sessions. Hope you enjoy the tunes and our chat with Claus, and make sure to stick around till the end to know more about him and his music. Enjoy! Thank you so much for those tunes, Claus, and welcome to the Tunes From Doolin Podcast.
Thank you for having me here. It's great to be here, Charles, and great to be in this lovely room with a especially wonderful view now that the weather is a bit better again. There's a lovely sun outside, and I can see the sea from here. It's beautiful. Thanks.
Oh, you're so welcome. What did you just play for us?
I played two reels that I actually composed myself a good while ago. The first tune is, I was just thinking, I think it's more than 30 years old at this stage. So I composed it in 92, I think. And it's called Tom and the Banshee, named after two cats that were living in the flat I was at the time. So
great names.
One was Tom and one was the Banshee. Tom, I don't know, Tom and Jerry, I suppose. And yeah. So, and the second one is one that I composed maybe 2005 for a band I was playing with at the time, Cara, and that tune's called The Flying Sofa.
Cool. I'm sure we'll have plenty of opportunities to talk about Cara later, but just before we get too much into details about your musical life and everything, for the listeners that might not know who you are, your name is Claus Steinort and you're from Germany, and you've been a regular visitor to Doolin for many, many years.
For many years, yeah. My first time was 1988. Not being a musician at that time, so that was the first time I was ever in Doolin. Yeah.
Okay, so what brought you to Doolin actually?
Well, I loved Irish music long time before that. I knew about it from, like, my sister. She started listening to Irish music and she got me into it. At first I thought she was crazy, but then she constantly played that kind of music, and then I also started to get an interest in it. And so I was on my bike. I was having a tour of what's now known as the Wild Atlantic Way, and I was just going up the coast. But I knew about Doolin and about its importance in Irish music, so it was a stop that I was looking forward to.
Okay, so you even though you didn't play at the time, you really came because of the music.
Because of the music, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, cool. That makes sense. That's going to. I don't know how that's going to make you feel, but when you did that tour in 1988, I was 2 years old. So that just tell people how long you've been actually into Irish music. And when did you start playing then?
Yes, I bought my first instrument, which was a tin whistle here in Doolin, 1988, and
like so many of us. Yeah, same for me.
Yeah. So that's how it started in Doolin, and but at that time it wasn't like a decision, okay, I'm going to be a musician now, because I never played any instrument before that time. So I was almost kind of, I felt a bit embarrassed to buy a tin whistle, like, going into the music shop down there. I think it was Hanny Hamilton at the time in charge of the place. And I got my tin whistle, and I was in a tent and I started practicing, but I was kind of ashamed to play it, and so I realized I can hear the notes when I just drop my fingers on the hole. So that's the way I started to learn a Twinkle Twinkle Little Star on the tin whistle. Yeah,
it's funny. It's actually very similar, because for the way I got into Irish music, when I was given my first tin whistle, I was like, I have no idea what to do with this, so let's just figure it out.
Yeah.
And so then I suppose tin whistle for a little while. And did you move on to the flute fairly quickly, or?
Fairly quickly, yeah. I love the sound of the flute, and so I came back the next year, and I was just at the end of my school time, and started working in a factory to get some money to buy me a flute, and which I then got in Ireland a year later.
Okay.
An old German flute. Full of cracks. I had no idea what I was buying there. It was overpriced, but it got me started anyway.
Yeah. That's really nice. And I suppose before we can talk about loads of stuff, but you've been here now this time with all your family in Doolin for since the month of March.
That's right.
Is it the first time you spend that length of time here? Because you've been visiting for all these years regularly, but to stay for a long time like this, is it the first time?
That's the first time, yeah. And I don't know, probably the only time ever. I lived in Dublin in the 90s for 6 months, and I used to come a lot to Doolin. So a lot of people actually thought that I live around here, because like every weekend or every second weekend I would come down and to Doolin and play tunes here.
And I imagine that all this time in Doolin, when you were just starting to play Irish music, was very formative years. Like, you must have learned a lot of your early tunes and music around here.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah. Of course I learned most of the tunes I learned it's probably from recordings at home. But then, but the first few years playing in sessions, I brought my little cassette recorder and taped many sessions, and that's where that's the tunes that I would have learned at the time, and they're still the tunes that I would start now. When somebody asks me to start a tune, it's always like the old ones from 30 years ago.
Yeah, the stick. Do you still have those recordings?
Yeah, I do. I just actually maybe half a year ago, before we left, I started trying to get them digitalized, but they're not good quality anymore.
Yeah, but that's it. They're still great fun to listen to.
Yeah, and it's a great memory. Yeah.
I'd really love to get my hand on those recordings. To be honest, you'll have to send them to me somehow.
I will as soon as I have that. I have like the one that I was listening to when I got into that was one recording from Mullock '92 in the back of Conway's, of course, one of the many places that are not there anymore with Martin Hayes and John Williams. And
nice, because sometimes these. Yeah, you were saying they're not great quality, but for I suppose people like ourselves who are maybe a bit geeky or nerds about Irish music, we can still enjoy them anyway.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And talking about Mollock, we were just back from Milltown Malbay, so we were recording this just at the end of a wonderful week of music. Did you have a good week down in Milltown?
Yeah, very good week, yeah. We all enjoyed it, the whole family. Everybody was well into it.
Yeah, cool. I'd say before we actually talk about your family and this trip that you're doing this time, do you want to play another couple of tunes for us?
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, I think a couple of jigs. There's a tune that I love to play, and sometimes I get strange looks when doing it. It's called the Kesh jig, and
great tune.
It is a great tune. People think I'm just making a joke when I started, but I really like that tune. I still do.
I've actually memories of, after playing Irish music for maybe 2 or 3 years, when you start getting a sense of which tunes are too common or whatever, like you kind of look down on them. But then I remember walking to O'Connor's and it was Sean Vaughan and Siobhan Peoples starting a session, and first tune they played was the Kesh jig, and I can assure you it was top quality and it's a great tune. So,
it is.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Take it away.
Yeah. See, I think that's the second one. If I make it that far, it's going to be Bluebells Are Blooming.
Lovely. Great tunes, Klaus. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
do you remember where? So the Kesh jig, I don't know if you can remember when you even learned it, but Bluebells Are Blooming, do you know where they're from? Or
I think they really became kind of tunes that were played often after that recording. God, what are their names again? Andy Morrow and Constantine
Tony O'Connell.
Tony O'Connell, of course. Yeah, the two of them. I think they recorded that tune as well.
okay, yeah. Oh, yeah. That was a really nice album. I haven't
Oh,
listened
it's a
to it
beautiful
in a
album,
long time.
yeah.
Yeah, lovely. So we were just talking about Milltown, and we're saying the family had a great time. That's something I want to ask you about, because doing a long trip like that, what was it, 4 or 5 months, coming in Ireland with your wife and your 2 daughters, that must have been a trip of a lifetime kind of experience. Do you want to tell us a bit about it and how it came about, when you got the idea and everything?
It's actually my wife, Sandra. She started with that idea of doing kind of a sabbatical. And so we plan to just go somewhere outside of Germany anyway. But the initial plan was to go onto some faraway island, much further than Ireland. But it turned out it's. We thought, why not just come to Ireland? I mean, we both play Irish music. The kids play Irish music, and this time would be just the ideal opportunity to just really get into it in a way that we can't from Germany or other places. So yeah, I thought, why not just do it? And Sandra was all into it, yeah, and the kids too.
Yeah, it's been really fantastic to see the entire family arriving and seeing first how the girls, so your 2 girls, how old are they?
They're 11 and 16.
11 and 16, how they straight away kind of joined in the sessions, and to have the 4 of you joining various sessions that were going around the village, it has really sort of gave a really nice boost to the scene. Were the girls excited to come as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean they also were brought up playing classical music on their violins, but they, like, from early ages on, they also heard the music, and they would have learned a few tunes from an early age on, and they always went to music festivals with us, and will always be into playing tunes. So yeah, they were looking forward to it.
Well, they certainly brought a lot of tunes with them here, and it's been a pleasure to have you all with us,
It's a pleasure for us, and it's a pleasure for me to see, like, how they progress. It's just amazing, like what the amount of tunes that they learned in the last few weeks, but also the playing has changed a lot, I think.
And I suppose that says a lot about the environment that you're learning music in, because for people like, you're from Germany, I'm from Switzerland, so we both know what it's like to play Irish music outside of Ireland and learning Irish music outside of Ireland. But when you come here, everything sort of falls into place. That's the way I see it. Exactly. How do you feel about it?
Absolutely. It's somehow, I don't know what it's like in Switzerland and Germany, that there's that Irish music scene, and it's kind of like a big family for me. But it is different. It's kind of sometimes, out of context, or it's in its own context in a way. But if you're here, if you have the opportunity to listen to the great players here who are really into the tradition, and listen closely to them, I think it's just a totally different thing. And I do give flute workshops in Germany from time to time, and like the most important advice I always give my students when they want to learn how to really get it going, I think, just go to Ireland,
Yeah.
Go listen to the great players, listen as much as you can, get a few lessons as well, but the most important thing is just to sit down and listen.
Yeah, and I think it also the fact that it's so normal to play Irish music here, that you can meet any of our friends and you just talk about music, talk about the last session you went to, about the last festival.
Yeah,
it makes it's part of everyday life. So I don't know if the girls actually felt that while they're here, but I can imagine, the progress made in 4 or 5 months here is massive.
Yeah. And I mean, of course, they got also a few kids in their age groups who also play that music, and that's something that they still don't have in Germany, of course.
Yeah. And do you think, are you trying to sort of pass on, because you must really love Doolin for coming back over and over for what is this? Jesus, that's over 30 years anyway, isn't it?
Yeah, well over 30 years.
Yeah. Are you trying to pass on that passion to them about this area specifically, or it just happens to be where you feel at home in Ireland?
I haven't thought about that actually. Maybe subconsciously, possibly. I don't know. But it's. I mean, I would be to try too strongly to get them into the music, and I mean, if they're having a great time now, if they don't continue it when they're getting older, that's the main thing for them is just they had the opportunity, they can do it now, and if they love it, and if they would like to continue it, then even better.
Yeah, the gift of music to our children is something, because we know like it's something you have with you for life. So it's really nice to see them growing up and having that passion, because they certainly have the passion. I met your eldest Marisa during the week there in Milltown, and she had her little bunch of friends that were around the same age, and I would see them walking from the fiddle classes straight up to Milltown going for sessions. It's really nice to see. It's really nice.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
And to come talk a bit more about Doolin and your relationship with the village, what makes it so? When you came the first time, because you knew about the reputation, and obviously it lived up to its reputation, I suppose. But what made you coming back all the time to this area in particular?
I mean, there are just many people that I got to know here very well, and it's always good, to meet them again and play tunes with people and people who's playing you like, and it's a lovely place like to hang out during the day as well. I mean, I guess if there are fantastic other places for tunes, and Ennis obviously, but as a tourist, which I am, it's great to be able to do some things and go to the cliffs, go to the burn, go to the sea, and pass the time, and just space out and look into the beautiful seaside and landscape.
I'll pick up on what you said about friends in particular, because I suppose that's kind of what happens when you come to the same place several times. You meet the same people. So can you tell us about the friends you've been making over the years here? It's probably the locals that you know, like Noel O'Donoghue would be somebody who was always very much, very friendly, and always tried to make visitors comfortable, and that was the same with me. And there's Ted McCormack. He was a great help for me. Also, he's always trying to always tell me, okay, there's this thing happening this weekend, I can give you a lift, and so I got into the various music sessions that only the insiders would know about, and Kevin, Terry, and Yvonne Casey. There are so many people here whose playing influenced me, because I listened to their tapes a lot with all the recordings that I made. If I'm not mistaken, you actually even went to Noel O'Donoghue's wedding. I think I remember you telling me about that.
That's Ted. You got me into that. I went to the Falls Hotel there, and that was a fantastic experience. I didn't even know Noel that well at the time, but there were all the players like the Kaluris from the Cliffs. Michael Russell was there. They were playing tunes, and I thought I was in the middle of an old television series from back in the days.
These sessions, typically like weddings and stuff, they're always very special, because it's a local community coming together to celebrate. So it's always a nice atmosphere. Since you mentioned the Killeries and Maiko, what are your memories of these older musicians? Did you get to play with them a good bit, or?
That was the only time I ever met the Killeries, I think. Michael Russell, the first time I saw him was in Germany, and as most people who know him know, he was big in Germany in the 70s and in the 80s too. I saw him actually in my hometown on stage, and I loved his playing and his whistle playing, and that.
I think we actually talked about this in the last episode of the show with Susan Daly was here, and she was talking about the Maiko going to Germany, and I think one time he brought her and local dancer Jimmy Maloney. I don't know. Would you have seen Maiko and Susan on stage? Maybe, who knows?
No. I think that was in the 70s. So, but I saw him in the 80s.
Yeah.
So I saw him there and heard him. I tried to play the whistle very much like he plays it, and like everybody else, I couldn't do it. There's only one Michael. But I loved the clear sound that I was always striving for when playing the whistle, and maybe a little bit also with the flute.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the first time I met him. Then I've seen him a couple of times here in sessions. He would always, when I was in O'Connor's, mostly he'd join in, he'd play his own tunes, but everybody would be just listening to his playing.
Yeah,
he'd sing a song, and then we would continue playing our tunes, and he would go back and start chatting up girls
and entertain the crowd. We were actually just talking about that with my friend Alan Reed the other day, about how it's more difficult almost to play what is supposedly called simply. Do you know, like the way Michael's playing described as simply, but I suppose playing without too much ornamentation, it's actually much harder to get this nice rhythm and pulse without adding ornaments, because ornaments they kind of like hide, they don't hide anything, but it's like a way to add that rhythm and flow to a tune. So to do it without the ornaments is actually that's the genius, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's so I don't know. Somebody said it. The deceiving simplicity of some of the styles in Clare is that's what I think is a very appropriate term.
Actually,
because it's really hard to do it like that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, and actually, I was playing with Noel O'Donoghue there on Thursday, and Noel has that as well. Exactly. I find that amazing phrasing and rhythm without the need to add, and it's not that there's nothing wrong with adding loads of ornamentation. It's great as well. It's just a different approach altogether. Yeah. Well, since we're talking about all this playing, would you like to play another tune?
Okay. Yeah. As you said, I'm still. I would often play tunes that I learned in that time, and I got a tape there, kind of an official band recording from some of the musicians, and one of them was a flute player called Michel Bonamy, and his playing was when I heard him playing, I was blown away. Literally, he has got his very, very own style of playing, which also is very unique. And he played a few tunes there on that recording. I think they're Flings. I'm not sure really, but try to play them back from my memory.
Nice. Thank you. Love those tunes. They're so nice, little tunes. Yeah, Flings, you were saying.
I don't know really, to be honest. Maybe the first one isn't. The second one could be. I don't know.
I actually don't know what a fling really is supposed to be. They sound to me like little cute reels.
Yeah, maybe. I can't really tell. It's maybe somewhere between a balance and reel, but maybe even simpler. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, they're nice tunes, so thank you for sharing them with us. So I suppose we talked about your early days in Doolin, we've talked about your family, but obviously in between that there's 30 years of playing music. So do you want to tell us a little bit about the music scene in Germany?
Music scene in Germany, yeah, there's like in every country, I guess in these days there are people playing Irish music, and it's a community that to me feels like a big family, and it's the thing in Germany different to Ireland is of course the scarcity of sessions. So people usually just form bands to be able to get to play tunes regularly with others.
Yes.
So that's they would form bands and then do gigs, tours, but not session gigs. Though the concept of session gigs is just not existent in Germany as far as I know. But there are also regular sessions. I'm actually quite lucky to live in Hanover, where we have 2 sessions a week.
That's
so
great.
I think that's. I don't think you get that in any other city in Germany. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm very lucky that we have that. But yeah.
And then when you were saying about the bands, because it's, I suppose, even more than the gigs, the rehearsals. Like if you want to be serious about a band, you need to meet up probably weekly or at least every couple of weeks to put stuff together.
Yeah. But sometimes a rehearsal might just be an excuse to just play tunes and have a good time.
So, and I know you were a member, I don't know if you were a founding member, you'll tell us in a second, but one of the bands that I know from Germany, Cara, who actually did very well. I think they're still going strong.
They're stronger than ever, I think.
Yeah. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. Funnily enough, I was almost a founding member. Sandra was the first one to start that band together with Gudrun and Jürgen, Gudrun Walter and Jürgen Treitz, playing fiddle and guitar, and Gudrun singing. So Sandra joined them to also bring her piano playing into the band and her singing. So Gudrun and Sandra could sing harmonies. And at the very first days, they still had a bass player, but he left the band because he was more like into not too traditional approach, but they wanted to go more into the Irish traditional thing. And then I said, okay, we needed somebody else. Why not Claus?
And I think, because I am not sure we mentioned earlier, Sandra is your wife.
Yeah, that's right.
So how did you meet through Irish music? Because I mean, there's not that many people who play Irish music in Germany. I know we were just saying there's a good few, but it's not like millions. So did you meet through music?
That's right. Yeah. She played flute at the time when I first met her, and we met in a beautiful castle in Germany, where there is an annual music weekend at Easter time, and that's where we met. And the year 2000, I think, that's where we first saw each other, and
and the rest is history.
Yes.
So to go back to the band, so you joined the band in the very early days, and then I believe you went touring internationally with the band. Even
I was actually I was quitting my job just to do that and play with them. It was a great time. Yeah, it has to be said. It was just brilliant to I couldn't really believe that we would get that far. I mean, we were a band from Germany at that time with only German members, and we managed to go like abroad and to I think I had 5 American tours with them and playing on some festivals and meeting all the bands and musicians who were
the heroes.
They were all heroes. I played with the heroes, my own heroes. It was just amazing. We would share the stage with, all the band names. I don't have to. It was just sometimes I would wake up in a hotel somewhere in the middle of nowhere in the States. And I thought, is this real? I can't believe it.
It's brilliant. And throughout that time, were you still able to come to Ireland and kind of get the session side of things as well, or were you just too busy with the band? Or
I'd come over maybe once or twice a year for a short holiday. That would be it. Yeah.
That was always, you know, kind of the need to get the you know, your dose of
a little bit of
back to the source,
the
kind
connection.
Of thing. yeah. You have to mind it.
Yeah.
Class. Yeah. And obviously we heard you play the flute, but you also play the pipes, and I can tell people that you play the bouzouki. I know you play the concertina as well. Do you want to tell us a bit about the different instruments and what got you into them, and
what did get me? I don't know. Why do I do it? I don't know. It's just I just love all these instruments. I even tried the accordion at some stage, as well as the concertina, which I don't play anymore. I just love trying out other instruments, and especially I mean the flute it's a beautiful instrument, and it's still my main instrument, and I think it's always going to be my first and main instrument. But it's it's kind of in a way so different to all other instruments, like from the range that you can play and also the sound it makes and how it mixes with other instruments. And I always loved to try out some other sounds, like some more sounds that are similar to the fiddle. I even tried to play the fiddle at some stage.
How did that go?
It started very nicely, but I don't know. It was Jerry O'Connor. He gave me a class. I was joining a class for a few days, and it was great. But it was just too much.
I suppose it's when you already play one instrument well, it's frustrating to kind of go back to that.
You know exactly what it should sound like, and you can't do it.
It's very frustrating. Yeah. I don't think I'd ever try to play the fiddle, and actually, for that matter, the flute as well, because I find it. Oh, Jesus, how many times have I tried to blow into a concert flute and just getting a bare look for like 2 seconds? I don't know.
That was the first 4 months of my flute playing, but I just wouldn't stop.
That's the first few months of anyone's flute playing, I'm assuming. But I know what you mean with the flute having a special sound. I agree, and I always visualize it as the flute kind of has that nice comfortable sound that enrobes the rest of the session.
Exactly. It's like the nice bed.
I think the flute really help to mix everything together and hold it together.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Well, I suppose it depends who is playing the flute. But that works when you play it anyway. And go on. Tell us about the pipes a little bit.
Yeah, the pipes. Actually, when I started with the tin whistle, I thought, okay, the pipes would be great too, but they must be too difficult to start with. And I almost started, instead of getting my first flute, I almost got another way, because the first session I ever played was in Dingle, and I played with a piper there. Con is his name, I think he passed away a few years ago. But he said, there's a pipe maker here just down the road. But that was
that's killing your brain.
That's killing your brain, but I was I thought, oh no, that's too much time now, and I have to cycle further to the next stop. Yeah. So maybe if I made it to Killian, maybe that would have all been a different story. But anyway, I decided to play the flute, and the pipes are probably, if you want to play another instrument and you already have some flute fingering, then it's obvious that pipes are probably the easiest other instrument to play.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
And obviously I've always loved the sound of the pipes. And
when did you give it a go first? Properly, when you decided to go for it.
A good friend of mine left his set of pipes in our home, in the place where we lived. Jens Komnik, he's a guitarist and multi-instrumentalist, and he's also a very good piper, and he left a set of pipes for 2 weeks in our place, and you shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
That was in 2004.
That's what
I
Sandra
think.
said. I think we shouldn't have left it.
Yeah, so I asked him for permission, and he said, "Yeah, we could just have a go." And then I played for every time, and I got home from work. I thought, I have to try that out again.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I got myself a practice set, and that went from there. And that was actually after joining the band Cara, I started playing that, and then they loved the sound so much that the second CD also featured pipes.
So yourself on the pipes?
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
You must have been. I haven't heard. I've heard a couple of Cara albums, but the more recent ones.
Yeah.
It's just you must have been right good very quickly to be put on the CD straight away.
I wouldn't really like to listen to this recording anymore. But yeah, it was quite a rushed decision, but it added to this band sound in a nice way, and that's also why they after I left, they still have pipers in the band.
Yeah, I think now it's kind of a. Or not a trademark, but it's
exactly.
like very much Cara has the pipe sound. And how do you feel actually now that you see how the band is going?
It's fantastic. It's great to see how they move on, and it's I mean, I've seen all the different stages, and it's great to see they continue. And
is there a sense of pride, or also maybe do you feel that you wish you could still be in the band, or?
Of course, I'm always, not always, but sometimes looking back at the time, I thought, oh God, why can't we just still do that? Oh, I'd love to be on the road again. And sometimes when I read their tour diaries or some postings on social media, I think, oh God, now they're in Switzerland again and having nice food.
Yeah.
And having the time of their lives. Yeah, it's great. I mean, but...
it's the different stages in life, isn't it? I suppose, when you start your family, have kids, it's different.
Of course, yeah.
I mean, you can... everything is possible. Like we know, many of our friends have families and are touring, but it's you have to do what's best for you at the time. And did you actually leave the band? Was it when you started your family with Sandra, or was there any other reason?
Yeah, it was that we started having kids and bought a house, and so the mortgage and the whole thing.
You had to become adults.
We had, finally, I still haven't really managed. That's my personal feeling about it. But and I mean, technically, one of us could have stayed in the band, but it wouldn't have been good for the relationship, I guess, because we both were really so much into it, and then somebody's staying at home, mind the kids, and the other one going on.
There would have been some jealousy, like
absolutely,
even if you don't mean to, like it's not in a bad way, but it would just be natural, I guess. And so, now that you're at the end, I don't remember if we said that at the time, but you're at the end of your 4 or 5 months in Ireland. Well, you've another few weeks, but you're going to leave Doolin the next couple of days. What's the plan?
The plan is to go up north a little bit, visit a friend in Galway, then gonna go to Connemara, to Westport, Echo Island, do a bit of the tourist trip.
Well, you might as well, Hopefully you have some good weather for that.
I hope so.
And I'm sure there'll be other sessions along the way.
Yeah, we'll see. Westport. I heard there's a flute player in Westport. What's his name again?
Matt something, is it?
Yeah, Matt. I don't know him. Yeah.
Have you ever met Matt Molloy?
I met him in Westport the last time I was in Westport, and that's also 30 years ago. Actually, I have to tell that story because I climbed Croagh Patrick and I fell and hurt my hand. That was kind of bleeding, but it wasn't really bad. But anyway, you could see it. And that night I went down to Westport and play in Molloy's in the back, and Matt was also playing, and he looked at that and was, "What happened to you?" And I said, I climbed Croagh Patrick and fell down. And he said, "Oh, you should have." I had a session the night before also with him, and he said, "You should have told me because I haven't been on Croagh Patrick yet." That was shortly after he moved there, and he loved hiking. He said if he had a free day and he would have come with me on top of the holy mountain.
Oh my God, you've missed the trip to Croagh Patrick with Matt Molloy.
Oh yeah.
Well, you had the session with him though.
Yeah, exactly. So.
It'll be nice to see him again. He's playing. I heard him playing in Milltown there. He joined. He was a special guest on the Flute recital. As good as ever.
Yeah. God. Yeah. Maybe I'll see if he's around when I'm there.
Yeah, who knows? And then just before you go back to Germany, I believe you're going to take a little trip to the Fla, the All Ireland.
The Fla, yeah. The kids are gonna try their best and see what competitions are like.
It's it's great for them. Something to practice 2 hours, but I'm sure that they'll just be meeting loads of the friends that they've probably met in Milltown already. And
exactly,
just
yeah.
For that reason,
that's the idea, yeah.
Be great. Great, Claus. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was a
Thank
real
you.
pleasure to have the
Thank
chat.
you.
And before I let you go, I suppose we'll play a couple of tunes together, and I think
Lovely.
you're going to take the pipes out.
Yes.
Nice.
I love pipes and concertina. Let's do it.
It is a great sound, yeah. Thanks again, Claus.
Thank you, Charles.
We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed our chat and tunes, and thanks again so much to Claus Steinort for coming on the show and playing a few tunes with me. Thank you again so much for listening to the Tunes From Doolin Podcast, and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss new episodes. It would be very helpful if you could tell your friends about the show too, share it on social media, and feel free to visit the Patreon page if you would like to support. If you would like to know more about the Tunes From Doolin project, you can check out the website and YouTube channel. You can also email me at tunesfromdoolin@gmail.com. I would love to hear from you. Thanks again, and see you at the next episode.